Let's get some reaction now. I've got the Shadow Environment Minister Jonathon Duniam with me. Senator, thanks for your time. You said in your response earlier in the day that the government hasn't looked at the issue of costs. In fact, the Minister in today's announcement said nothing that would make the environmental approvals cheaper. I asked her about that today, and Tanya Plibersek's response was, well, faster approvals means cheaper costs. What do you say to that?
Oh, well, great to be with you, Kieran, and I'll believe it when I see it. It's great for a minister to say that it's going to be faster and therefore cheaper, but what we're doing here is setting up an unaccountable EPA, as far as I can tell, and it's not going to be accountable to the people, it's not going to be accountable to the parliament, certainly not going to be accountable to the businesses it's dealing with. And what's more is, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who makes the decision or what process it goes through. At the moment, we have all of this green lawfare going on. We've got groups like the Environmental Defenders Office and Environment Justice Australia, two groups, for example, that have been given nearly $10 million by this government in its last budget, who are appealing projects, 18 coal and gas projects, for example, who will appeal any decision by any entity, be it a minister or an EPA. I don't know how the minister thinks she's going to overcome that, especially when she's handing money to groups like that. It's bad news for business, bad news for jobs, and sadly, I think it's going to be bad news for the environment.
You say bad news for business, but we saw in Joel Philp's report there, the Business Council of Australia there, alongside the minister, supporting the announcement.
Yeah, and look, I think everyone is very hopeful that a government gets the job done and does it well. Even an opposition would like to see the government get things like this right, but I have grave concerns, knowing how Labor deal with these things, knowing how they do deals with the Greens in the Senate to get bills through, that they will get it right. And I want to make the point also that, when I'm out doing my job, talking to miners, to foresters, to farmers, to manufacturers, they're not as confident as, say, the BCA, a peak body, who have the view that they've expressed today. And I also note that the Minerals Council are very worried about the setup of this EPA being unaccountable. So there are mixed views out there. The government's got a job to do and they're not doing it well at the moment, and they've got to work better with business.
The minister said, I asked her about the Greens' push for a climate trigger in the bill. She said she's not open to that. Is that the right course of action in your view?
Yeah, look, obviously we as an opposition, the coalition, are keen to make sure whatever passes through the Senate passes in the best form possible for the communities of Australia, for the families who are doing it tough, for the businesses that need certainty. So we'll play our part. I will get a briefing from the Minister's office tomorrow on the plans that they've got, and I look forward to understanding the answers to some of the questions I have. Because, as I say, we've got to get this right. The climate trigger would be a disaster for this country. It would drive investment down. It would shut so many industries down. I just don't know what it would do to rural and regional Australia. So her call on that is right. But again, when it comes to the floor of the Senate, are they going to do a deal with the Greens like they did on IR and their extreme changes there, or will they work with us sensibly?
So in that context, are you open to doing a deal? Because it's pretty clear from what Graham Samuel said in that report delivered to the former coalition government 2 years ago, that the current environmental laws are not fit for purpose.
And the former government, of which I was a part, did introduce 2 tranches of legislation to commence those reforms. We also invested nearly $130 million in underpinning good processes that would lead to better outcomes. We accepted the findings of that report, despite the characterisation of the new government. So we will, as I said before, we'll work in the best interests of the people we represent. Part of that is going to be the business community, the people that provide jobs to households that are doing it tough. Off the back of the IR changes, which have driven up the costs of doing business, off the back of increasing power costs, the cost of getting goods from A to B, all of these.
So you're open to doing a deal?
We're open to working with the government on what we think is important, and we will put forward the views of our stakeholders. Let's make sure the package is the best one possible for this country, but we won't be accepting some of the mad things the Greens are proposing, and certainly I want to see some detail around this unaccountable EPA and also some of the costs they refer to, these conservation payments and the like. I mean, we could be talking tens of millions of dollars added to any environmental approval. How can a business sustain that?
Shadow Environment Minister Jonathon Duniam, appreciate your time. Thanks.